With 58 peaks over 14,000 feet, thousands of old mountain roads, and 22 million acres of public lands, Colorado is the overlander and outdoor adventurer's dream destination. There's something for everyone, from rough and challenging trails and beautiful campsites to a rich and interesting history of exploration, expansion, and mineral extraction. I was passing through on the way to a work event and decided to spend a few days seeing the sights and exploring some new trails in one of the prettiest areas of the state. Welcome to Colorado. I am camped at a beautiful campsite right next to a creek, and there's a couple of old mines just outside of Silverton in the southwest of the state. And as you can probably see behind me, I'm surrounded by mountains, and I'm ready to go. I'm about to head up into those mountains. The mountains I was in were the San Juan Mountains, which make up part of Colorado's Rocky Mountains. The area is known for its high concentrations of gold and silver, and the mining of those valuable metals has left its mark on the landscape. There are hundreds of old roads that wind their way into and over the mountains to old mines and mining towns, and those roads are fantastic for exploring today. My route on those roads took me past the small town of Silverton, which is founded by prospectors in search of precious metals. The discovery of a huge silver vein at the Sunnyside mine led to a huge boom. It is one of Colorado's longest running and most productive mines. The mines have mostly since closed, but Silverton's economy lives on thanks to the tourism based on the roads left behind, the beautiful scenery, and nearby skiing. Just east of Silverton, the road basically heads straight up into the mountains and to an area with a ton of really cool mountain passes. You got passes I've done before, like Engineer Pass, Cinnamon Pass. You can go up California Gulch to a bunch of other passes. It's a really cool area to explore. But I turned off a little earlier onto Stony Pass, which heads across the mountains to an area that I've briefly visited before, but I've seen there are a bunch of other trails that I want to explore out there. This looks pretty narrow ahead. This doesn't look like it's going to be much fun with a trailer. I've just turned off a side road off the Stony Mountain Pass Road onto a road that heads up to the Buffalo Boy Mine at the top of the mountain here. And so turning off onto this side road was not a lot of fun. It was a very tight switchback, and had to back up a little bit on some loose rocks on the edge of a shelf road, which is not fun at the best of times. So of course, pulling a heavy trailer, I feel like you just kind of slip a little bit more when you're backing up. The trailer I was pulling is the AOR Sierra, and at just over 2,000 pounds dry, heavy probably isn't the right word to describe it. When you're driving up a loose, rocky road, extra weight is extra weight. All right, well, this just got worse. This came up to a switchback that I'm not making around in one go. So I'm gonna have to jackknife a little bit. I'm holding the trailer brake controller, so those trailer brakes are jammed on. All right, hopefully that's enough. Get a little leany for both me and the trailer. Come on. It's just such a loose rock, it's so steep. Not looking forward to going back around that one on the way back down. On the climb, I passed under a series of cables that drop down from the mountains to the valley below. These cables make up a unique cable car system that was used to transport ores several miles from the Buffalo Boy mine above. Ores would be loaded up into carts that would be carried along constantly moving cables suspended across valleys and down steep mountainsides by multiple towers. The system was unique and complicated, but easier than transporting down the steep road. Thankfully, there weren't any more tight switchbacks on that steep road, but it continued to have loose rocks along the entire drive, and I found myself struggling with constantly spinning tires. I did later figure out that forgetting I was in a full-time four-wheel drive vehicle was contributing to that spin. At the top, I drove up to the Buffalo Boy Mine and Tram House. The mine was originally dug in the 1870s, and while there were some successes, it was worked on and off as the price of gold, silver, lead, and zinc fluctuated. In 1925, it was reopened and modernized with the creation of the tramway underway just as the economy collapsed in 1929. They finished the tramway anyway, assuming the economy would recover, but they suspended operations shortly after bringing the mine, tramway, and mill into full production in 1930, and it never resumed. Well, this ended up being a really cool spot to stop and eat some lunch. I love checking out old abandoned mining structures, ghost towns, that kind of thing, especially when this kind of thing's not going to be here forever. There's no reason to keep it maintained, and the winters up here are incredibly harsh. I mean, even here it's August, middle of August, and last night it got down below freezing. So you can imagine the amount of snow they have up here in the winter. In fact, there is still a patch of snow that I can see here in the middle of August. So all that weight of the snow on here, it's not going to last forever. So I like to come check them out, video them while I can. And since this is an out and back trail, I've now got to turn around and head back down those switchbacks, which I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit nervous about. All right, here goes. Got the trailer brake turned up high, so that helps me with stopping. Which I can't go quite as wide on the way down because it's very leany. Oh, the trailer is sliding sideways. That's always reassuring. I'm gonna have to jackknife it, and hopefully I've got room to jackknife it. Seems fairly stable right here. Let's see what I've got, see how much room I'm working with. And on this end, that's how much I backed up. And there's all this loose rock here before it's a long way down. Doesn't look like I've got much to work with here. Yeah, I'm actually overlapping here. I can see this is sitting up over the bumper there. Hopefully as I continue this corner, that doesn't break or anything. But I think I should be okay just because the trailer is so much higher and it's gonna stay higher as we come around this corner. If not, sorry, Lauren, about your trailer. And in case you're new here, this is not my trailer. I'm actually taking this trailer to a show for Creede Campers. Creede Campers is owned by Lauren. So yeah, I don't really want to break it. I mean, even if it was mine, I wouldn't want to break it, but it's not mine, so I especially don't want to break it. Okay, going full lock, and turn as tight as I can. Try and stay away from the edge, and hopefully not break the trailer. It looks like I'm gonna make it round. I'm just gonna straighten up a little bit in an attempt to not break the trailer. Okay, we made it. That was definitely the hardest switchback. From here on out, should be good. Let's go check to see if there's any damage. There was no real damage. That little thing that stuck out did scuff my bumper a little bit, and it did dig into the aluminum plate that's on the top of the bumper, but I'll take that. It could have been worse. So unknown shelf roads and switchbacks, probably not the smartest thing to do. Thankfully, I talked to a guy at the top who's familiar with the rest of this, and he said that there'll be no problem on Stony Pass or any of the other roads that I want to take over the next few days. So it's just this one. Stony Pass was in much better shape, and while it's not the smoothest road, it's wider and better maintained, and I had no concerns pulling the trailer. The road climbs the steep Stony Gulch with views behind of the dramatic, rocky, and steep mountains. At the top, I reached the 12,650 foot high mountain pass.
Well, I made it to the top of Stony Pass, and that last little section was far easier than the section going up to the mine. It's a lot better maintained, a lot wider coming up here, and the switchbacks are, I don't even need to worry about them at all. And at the top here, it is absolutely spectacular, especially from the drone shots. Those drone shots, well, I was just looking at a tiny little screen, but they looked really, really cool, especially that way along the valley. And that's the way I'm going to continue now. So I'm hoping as we go along there, the views get even better.
On the east side of Stony Pass, the road follows the beautiful Rio Grande River for almost 30 miles. The route was first used in 1872 when a mill was sent over the pass on wagons and sleds. It was slowly improved into a toll road, and by 1879 the road was in good enough shape that wagons and stagecoaches could make it the whole way unassisted. For a few short years, Stony Pass was heavily used by teams of freighters with oxen and wagons pulling tons of supplies from the east across to Silverton. In 1882, the railroad reached Silverton, which was a much quicker and more efficient way to transport supplies. The road descends down from the pass to run alongside the Rio Grande, where there are dozens of fantastic campsites. I had several to choose from, but eventually picked one with a view out across the valley.
I think this is the definition of an epic campsite, because I am just completely surrounded by mountains everywhere I look. It's beautiful here, and actually this wasn't the campsite I was going to stay at. There's a creek just down there, and I pulled into a campsite next to the creek, and I launched the drone. I was like, you know, I should get a shot of this campsite, and put the drone up and saw this spot on the drone and knew I had to come up here instead. This is fantastic, and I'll mark both of them for Patreon. That way, if you are one of my Patreon supporters, you come out this way, you can find this easily. You've got the waypoint, and I'm already excited to watch the sunset. I think I'm going to climb on top of the camper, grab a bourbon and watch the sunset up there. But it's 4:30 right now, so I've got a few hours until that happens. I think in the meantime, I'm gonna put the awning up so I can have some shade. I'm gonna make myself some dinner.
I'm not one for fancy gourmet meals, and a grilled turkey and cheese sandwich is about as elaborate as it gets on my channel. If you're not into overlanding videos that turn into cooking shows, then it might be worth subscribing. The rest of the trip, I just plugged in the microwave into the trailer and heated up my dinner each night.
Well, the sun's about to disappear behind the mountains behind me, so I think it's time to break out the bourbon.
With dinner finished and a bourbon poured, I climbed onto the roof of the Sierra to enjoy the evening sunset.
It's a quiet but chilly morning this morning. I think it got down close to freezing again last night, although yesterday there was ice on my vehicle when I woke up. This morning there wasn't, but the sun is slowly making its way across the mountains, the hills behind me, and should be here soon enough to start warming things up. Something I've noticed about the AOR Sierra is it seems to be really well insulated. It does come with a diesel heater, but even yesterday when I had ice on my vehicle, I didn't use it. Just left everything sealed up, except for the vent on the roof. I did leave that cracked a little bit just to get some fresh air in there, and was plenty warm enough. The sun is up, it is rapidly warming up, and it's actually starting to feel pretty good now, and it's time to go. I'm going to continue doing the last little stretch of Stony Pass, and then we're going to head across to another mountain.
The last little stretch of Stony Pass was by far the roughest section, would end up taking most of the day. The first car to cross Stony Pass was in 1910. It proved to be a difficult route for the 30 horsepower Croxton Keaton, and they had to use horses to pull up Timber Hill, a steep and rocky section that I'd be tackling too.
It's getting a little tight again between these trees, but I would much rather be doing a tight tree trail like this one than a tight ledge road trail like the one we were doing yesterday. This loose, rocky descent is going on forever. I'm glad I didn't have to come up this, because I think I would have struggled, because this rock is a lot looser than the ascent that I did yesterday. Although I did figure out that I actually struggled more than I needed to, because on the GX, when you go into 4 low, the center stays open, and there's a separate button to lock the center, and I had left it open. And I think based on some of the other ascents that I did yesterday, if I had locked the center, it would have been a lot easier.
At the bottom of Timber Hill, the road levels out and improves drastically, following the river, meadows, and wetlands. The meadows along this section of road were home to several stations and stops over the years that the toll road was active. Businesses like lodges, stores, storehouses, blacksmiths, and post offices served the people traveling and shipping along the route.
There is no end to the campsites along this creek on the east side of Stony Pass. This is a fantastic area, so pretty, and I say just tons of camping. I have also passed several campsites with vehicles parked in them and people out in the river fishing. I don't know anything about fishing, it's not for me, but if you're into fishing, then it's probably a cool place to come camp for that too. It is far too early in the day for me to stop here and camp, but I figured that I would at least make some lunch here so I can hang out for a little bit and enjoy the view, because it is fantastic. All right, now that I'm all fed, let's continue out past the reservoir.
Passing the Rio Grande Reservoir represents the far end of the Stony Pass route. I think it's one of the most overlooked passes in Colorado. Most people have heard of Engineer Pass and Imogene Pass, but not a lot of people talk about Stony Pass. It's absolutely beautiful along almost the entire length, and is one of the few passes that has plentiful camping.
Just made it out past the reservoir, and I've got probably a few more miles of unpaved roads until I reach the highway over there. I'm basically going to be crossing straight over the highway because I want to make it to the top of that mountain over there because it looks really cool. And I saw on Onyx Maps that there is a road that goes all the way to the top up there. Onyx Maps is the app that I use for all of my overlanding stuff basically. I've got it up here on CarPlay being used for navigation, but I also use it to find my routes all over the place. You can see that on here I've got this blue line that I'm following. That is the recommended trail for Stony Pass, and blue is color-coded, meaning it's kind of a medium difficulty. And it's Onyx that I used to see that there's a route to the top of that mountain over there. If you want to give Onyx Maps a try, I've got the QR code that's up on the screen right now, and if you use that QR code or the link that's in the description, you can get 20% off your membership, and it's well worth having. Not only does it give you all these fantastic routes across the country, but it also is something that's continuously improving. You know, they updated the maps last year, they added a whole bunch of new route features earlier this year. You got trail reports now, and they recently added camping layer that tells you where you're allowed to pull off the road and camp in national forest land.
On my way to the road up the mountain, I noticed a point of interest marked on the map, the North Clear Creek Falls. The falls sit on the edge of hard volcanic rock from the 27 million-year-old San Juan volcanic field.
Well, this is a cool little side stop that I saw on the map as I was driving through. It is literally right next to the road that I'm going to be taking that goes up the hill off behind me there and eventually climbs up to the cliffs that I want to get to.
Just north of the falls, I continued my climb into the hills.
My original plan for tonight was to go all the way to the top to Bristol Head to the overlook and set up camp there, but I've stopped a little early, just about 3 miles in to the 12-mile trail. I've done it for a couple of reasons. One, well, both of them are based on talking to a guy at the bottom. He said that it's about 12 miles to the top and the last 3 or 4 miles are super rough and slow going, and it's time to set up camp now. I don't really want to be driving super late. And then the other reason is that he said that it's super windy at the top and probably gonna be pretty cold tonight. And I know I'm in a camper that's well insulated, so I don't really need to worry about the cold or the wind, but I don't want to be out cooking in the wind, and I need to take a shower. I don't want to set up a shower tent and deal with all that in the wind. So this is a decent site, much more sheltered. The only downside is that the view's probably not quite as good here as it would be from way up at the top, but I'll still get to see the sunset through the trees here. So I'm happy. I'm just gonna relax for the rest of the evening, get some dinner going, get my shower in.
As the evening went on, there were regular light showers and sudden gust storms that came through camp, making me glad I wasn't sitting on top of an exposed cliff top. Eventually, they calmed and us treated to a Colorado sunset.
Well, apparently I decided to stay in a wildlife park because I've been hearing wildlife noises all around me. Last night when I was filming the sunset, I heard a bunch of coyotes yapping and howling down the hill. This morning when I woke up, I heard what I think were elk down that kind of way as well, doing a kind of cross between a bark and a grunt noise. And then this morning when I popped open the hatch on the trailer to get my breakfast, I turned around and a deer was right behind me walking through camp. Scared the crap out of me because I didn't see it or hear it coming. And just now, I heard off in that kind of direction. Now, I'm no wildlife expert, but I'm 90% sure that it was an elephant. I decided rather than take the trailer all the way to the top of the trail along the rough few miles at the top, I'm just going to unhook it and leave it here. It's not that the trailer can't do it. It's plenty capable, but just be a little bit quicker and easier without it, and it doesn't take much time to unhook it.
About 10 minutes later, I was completely unhooked and started the steep climb up the mountain to the west. Right at the top of the mountain, I immediately came across a pretty nice campsite.
Well, this one would have been a way cooler campsite, but you never know. I could have been driving for hours to find something. But I'll mark it, save it for Patreon, and keep going.
The first half of the trail had been well maintained and easy, but as promised, it deteriorated quickly. About 7 miles from the top, it became rocky, bumpy, and slow going. It wasn't hard, but I knew it would take me much longer from here on out.
That's weird. There's just a random rock leaned up against this tree. It's just kind of perched on top of the ground. There's no sign of where it came from. It's just sitting there leaning against the tree. And it's not like it's a small rock that someone picked up and leaned up against it. That thing's huge. Like, how did that even happen? How did I get there? It's so weird.
Approaching the summit, all I could see was the smooth, grassy back of the mountain. I knew there were cliffs ahead, but I couldn't see them, and I wasn't prepared for how dramatic and impressive they were.
Well, this trail ends in a spectacular viewpoint. This is worth coming up here for this. You got kind of a high mountain that kind of stands alone, surrounded by valleys and a saddle behind me. So you got the view of the mountains all the way around you, but the trail just ends at some sheer cliffs, rocky, steep cliffs. They're basically just, sheer cliffs. They go straight down to the reservoir over there, valley over that way, and I think Creede is off in the distance behind me. Yeah, this is a fantastic view, and yeah, like I said, well worth coming up here. I'm surprised I hadn't heard of it before, just spotting it on the maps. Well, this is a perfect time and place to stop for lunch, because it is just past noon, and thankfully I took my food out of the trailer, or some of my food out of the trailer, and stuck it in the fridge in the back here. Otherwise, I'd be pretty hungry right now. All right, I am all refueled, and got some extra snacks in case I need them. It's time to head back down, pick up the trailer. Well, I'm glad that I didn't drag the trailer up here last night or even today, because it has been very slow going. This trail is very rocky and rough. Not difficult, just rough. Makes it slow going, and it would have been slower with the trailer. I think if I'd brought it up here last night, I probably would have missed the sunset. It would have taken so long to get up here. It took me hours to get up here. We'll see how long it takes me to get back. It's just past noon, and I'm heading back to the trailer to go pick it up. Well, exactly 2 hours later, we've made it back to the trailer. I pulled up behind it. I'm gonna air up. So I'm gonna air up the trailer tires on the GX, and the airbags that I've got in the back as well for towing the trailer. Because we've only got a couple miles back down to pavement, and I'm gonna drive around to Creede and find myself a place to camp. But first, air up and hook up.
It didn't take too long to get everything hooked up, and I was back out on the highway for the short drive to Creede. Just outside of town, I turned northwest into the foothills, heading into the National Forest land to find camp.
Well, I just pulled up to camp just outside of Creede, and I've actually stayed in this exact spot before. It was years ago, back when I had the 4Runner, and I think it was October, right at the start of October when I stayed here. And we had plenty of spots to choose from. But pulling in this time, as I came down the hill up there, I had to make my way through probably about 10 RVs parked up the top, and I was really worried that this spot wasn't gonna be open. You can probably just make out a couple of them up there. But thankfully, I guess RVs don't want to come all the way down to the bottom here. It's a little bit of a rougher road, so nice and far away from all. Got a good secluded spot. It is a very pleasant evening this evening. It's currently 77 degrees Fahrenheit or 25 degrees Celsius, which is the warmest evening I've had so far. That's probably down to the elevation. This is also the lowest campsite at 9,000 feet, the lowest campsite that I've stayed at on this trip so far as well. So I've been sitting here enjoying the view, and actually noticed that I could see these cell phone towers up on Bristol Head where I was earlier today. But I think now I'm gonna grab a bourbon, sit back down and continue enjoying the view in this lovely weather. It's already warming up fast this morning. I'm actually getting a little bit hot in this hoodie, so I'm gonna have to take it off now that I'm ready to go, all packed up. I'm gonna head back up the hill and into Creede and check out some of the sites, a couple of the sites, the other side of Creede.
Creede is an interesting small town. It has the typical charm of Colorado's old mining towns, with interesting shops and businesses throughout downtown, but it's nestled right up against the impressive vertical cliffs that sit between Bachelor Mountain and Mammoth Mountain. Those cliffs are home to dozens of mines and mills, many perched right on the rock faces to which Creede owes its existence.
The reason I came to Creede was to do the Bachelor Loop and visit all of the cool old abandoned mines, including this one and the Last Chance Mining Museum that's basically up there somewhere. On my way in, I passed the Underground Firehouse Museum, and I realized this is an area that my 3-year-old son would absolutely love to come to. He'd love to visit an underground firehouse. He'd love to visit a mine up on the hills up there. So I'm not gonna do it now. I'm gonna go do something else, and I'll come back here another time, probably next summer, and we'll do the whole loop with my son, because I think he'd really enjoy it. And I have been video calling him every night, and he is very disappointed that he's not out camping with me. He's let me know that he wants to be camping. Unfortunately, he just couldn't come on this one. I'm gonna be working, I gotta work a show over the weekend. That's the whole reason I'm towing a camper behind me. And then the second reason is he just started preschool 2 days before I left, and I really didn't want to have him start preschool, get into a routine, and then stop. So unfortunately, he's not here this time around, but he will be on the next trip. We're getting ready to go to Alaska in a few weeks' time. Thankfully, there are hundreds of other trails in the area marked on Onyx maps, so I'm just gonna pick a different one.
A short time later, I was back out, this time in the rolling hills on the west edge of the San Luis Valley. These hills have multiple volcanic formations, and I was on my way to see one of them.
It might not be obvious, but I have actually been making up this route as I go. It helps that there are several trails that I've wanted to do in this area of Colorado anyway, and I've just kind of strung a few of them together, like the trail I did yesterday. But my original plan for this week was actually to do the Rim Rocker, but I found out basically the day I got here, when I looked at the map, that there's a huge fire about 20 miles north of the trail, and I just didn't want to deal with that. I didn't want to deal with smoke, potential hazards if the fire spread to the south, or even flight restrictions on the drones, because if there's a fire nearby, you don't want to fly a drone because they'll grab the flights. So, ended up down here instead. It's worked out pretty good. I've enjoyed the trails that I've done.
Around 10 miles from the highway, the trail turns to the north to make its way around a long magmatic dike, a wall of ancient igneous rock that stretches for over 2 miles. The wall was formed when tectonic movement opened up a crack in the ground around 30 million years ago and magma from below seeped up to fill it. Over time, the surrounding materials are eroded away, leaving the wall. This particular wall has an unusual arch in it. Where most arches are formed in sedimentary rocks like sandstone, this arch has formed in volcanic rock.
I've just reached paved road, and I think I've got about 160 miles of pavement to go to get to the campsite that I have saved for tonight, because I need to get north. I need to get a little bit closer to Loveland for the show that's coming up. So I'm gonna air up, and I will see you at camp. And I'm gonna end the video here because first thing tomorrow morning I've got to get up nice and early so I can head up to Loveland, put this trailer in the show there. Well, first I've got to wash it and then take it to the show. If you like this video, give me an interaction, whether it's a little thumbs up or a comment, because it really helps. And hopefully watch the next one when we go to Alaska. Thanks for watching.